Welcome into the Boston Sports Summit. I am your host, Tim Barner. We're getting a little bit late start, but it's all right because it has been a crazy week with Boston sports. Starting with, you got the New England Patriots. I mean, I'm just going to jump right into it, man. We got the New England Patriots coming off a massive victory that I was not a fan of. I'm going to be upfront with you. I mean, we have a Halloween, and yeah, I know you hear my printer going on behind you. Or behind me. What am I saying? Behind you. We got the victory with New England, and here's the thing. Like I said, I wasn't too thrilled with it, and it's not for the reason that you might think. I know there are a lot of Patriots fans out there who are probably pissed off at me for saying that, number one. But number two, it's not because I want the number one overall pick. No, it's not because of, we're losing our draft ground by winning this game against the Jets. No, see, my thing is, with this Jets game, number one, we didn't beat the Jets. The Jets lost that game. If you're going to sit here and please comment below, it'll help with the algorithm and everything. But, honest to God, though, if the Jets were the ones who lost that game more than the Patriots won it, and I'm not talking that, the refs obviously missed some bad calls or missed some calls against that would have helped us. But it was a situation where I looked at it and was just kind of not happy because the Patriots are coming off a week where they lost to one of the worst teams in the NFL and the Jacksonville Jaguars over in London, and Robert Kraft loves those overseas games. And so I can only imagine what was running through his mind, knowing that Jacksonville is a giant cluster of a team and you lost to them. Even though I would argue that the Jaguars have a slightly better, more talented roster than we do. So that's number one. But number two, I look at it going, we had all the drops in the world. We lost our rookie quarterback in the start of the second quarter. We ended the first half where the first half we had the ball at our own 20, a minute 51 remaining in the half, in 2 timeouts. And what do? Line up in the shotgun to run a halfback draw to Ramondre Stevenson. And then we run it with Stevenson again. Then we go to the line, and Jacoby Brissett runs the ball like he tries to do like this, I want to say modified QB sneak, where he just took it, ran to his left, and just tried to run long enough to drain the clock so it sat below 40 seconds. And I was not happy about it because we were losing in that game and we're going into the half. You need to be aggressive. And that was the whole thing. We're coming off a week where we lose to Jacksonville, and Drake Maye has the wherewithal. He wasn't wrong, but he has the wherewithal to go to the press conference and calls the team soft. In which case, I was kind of like, all right, let's see. And just like I think a lot of us, let's see what this team is going to have against the Jets. And outside of the first drive of the game, that was just absolutely horrendous play calling by Alex Van Pelt. I mean, are you kidding me? Run, deep pass down the left sideline. Like, hello, McFly, any creativity here? Anything to get your rookie quarterback, I don't know, starting off a little faster, right? Can he, get started a little bit faster, get him going, do more like a wide receiver screen, a crosser route, these quick routes that, you know what, can the kid just make a couple completions here and there? So he doesn't have to start the game off going deep on an obvious 3rd and long situation. I mean, right? So there's that. I'm not going to get it. That's one thing. But then to have the next drive, you have Drake Maye go on a 10-play drive that leads the team all the way for a touchdown. I was happy. I was like, all right, let's go. Like, this is great. And then, of course, the Jets match it. And say what you want. I mean, that PI call that helped the Jets out. Not great, but you got to live with it sometimes. Like, again, refs are human. They're gonna make bad calls, and they seemingly love to penalize us, even though we're a much worse team, a much not as even close to talented as the Jets are. But here's the thing. I think the other part of my issue was when Drake Maye got hurt off a helmet-to-helmet hit that, again, the NFL is like, we got to crack down on this. We got to crack down on this. They are really, really loose with that rule. Like, they are doing nothing to benefit quarterbacks. It feels like, unless it's just super egregious and just super late and it's a blatant headshot to the quarterback. But all in all, it feels like they're letting the boys play a little bit. And I'm kind of in favor of that. I hate the fact that Drake Maye, left and got hurt. Not going to sit here and say, like, I wanted that to happen. But that just leads me to the next talking point, which is basically everybody now gets to sit there and jump on their high horse and be like, see, this is what we told you. Drake Maye is going to get hurt behind this offensive line. And it's like, really? Because I thought the offensive line was kind of decent. I thought they were, decent enough against Jacksonville last week. I thought they were, pretty good this whole game. And it was Drake Maye, probably, what could have been a coverage sack, but he scrambled out of it and ran. And that's where it was like, okay, like, the dude's got some legs. I mean, he already proved it on the touchdown, the 20-yard touchdown run that he had earlier in the game, where he was somehow able to get around the corner and just avoid, I want to say C.J. Mosley, but I don't think it was him. Regardless, it was, I thought it was great. And by the way, on that touchdown run, how funny was it to see Gerard Mayo and Alex Van Pelt jump up and down with excitement and do that thing together? And it's like, guys, you do know that, or I want to say Alex, you do know your play sucks so much that Drake Maye had to scramble and improvise and do his own thing. That had nothing to do with what Van Pelt called and what was run. So that was kind of funny to me. But honest to God, when Drake Maye went out, I thought the game was over. I really did. I think I even sent out a tweet just being like, the famous Rocky IV meme, throw the damn towel, because look at how Jacoby Brissett has played before Drake Maye stepped foot on the field. He sucked. He was hot garbage. And I'll give him credit. I give Brissett credit, for coming back and, having that wherewithal to be better. But I can't really sit there and say that he was head and shoulders above where he was before we took him out. Games 2 through 5? 2 through 4? He sucked. And I think, really, yeah, Jacoby was able to lead the team, score some points. But that Jets team, though, good God, are they just a hot effing mess? Greg Zuerlein missing that point after attempt, as well as a 44-yard field goal that he should have made. It would have been such a different ball game had that happened. Had he made both those kicks, the Patriots would have lost this game. And Aaron Rodgers, too, is just a friggin' moron sometimes. Like, I understand he probably still is talented enough to go out and sling the ball around like he did when he was in his early 30s. But honestly, though, I think something's wrong with him mentally. And I don't mean like he is an absolute nutcase, where cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs head case. But I think there's something wrong with him mentally where he is just not, he's afraid. He's afraid to get hit. And he can't run like he did in his early 30s. Like he's not running around scrambling like he used to and on the run just slinging it, 50 yards to Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb. You know what I mean? He's got a couple great receivers. They just traded for Devontae Adams and have Garrett Wilson. You would think that everything would be kind of running with this team. But clearly, there is something wrong. And I don't believe that firing Robert Saleh, especially after this week, Robert Saleh is not the problem. He was not the problem by any stretch of the imagination. So, when you look at it, I get it. I get how people are, like you want to celebrate the victory, and then that's fine. Go, celebrate the victory. It's a good win. Well, I shouldn't say it's a good win, but a win's a win. But it's hard for me to sit here and say that this is going to benefit our team. Because with this win, okay, sure. The simple answer is we went from the worst. We went from the number 1 overall draft pick to the number 3 overall draft pick. That's one. And again, like I said, that's not me. Like I'm not looking to get the number 1 overall draft pick this year. I'm not. I'm just saying that as an argument. But I think part of the other thing too is going back to the I told you so's. Part of it too is everyone came out as like, look at how the Patriots responded to being called soft. They came out, they played hard, they battled, and they won. And see, I don't believe that. I don't believe that this team battled like they were motivated by being called soft. Now you can sit there and say that like everybody talking afterwards is like, yeah, we use that as motivation, and everybody was. Everyone was coming out saying that was their motivation, and like we're standing behind our coach 100%. But I'm sorry, if you came and battled like you should have after being called soft, which everybody and their mother from all the media outlets, all the local media outlets, to all the national media outlets, to all the players in the league, and some of the ex-coach, i.e. Bill Belichick, like if they really used that as motivation, then I'm sorry. They should have been it should have been a wildly different game in favor of the Patriots. To have a grand total of 7 yards in the second quarter. 7. That early in the game. I don't know. That says to me that it wasn't the gangbuster that they wanted. It wasn't the look at us. All right, we just got called soft last week. Well, you know what, Gerard? You're wrong. To all the media out there, you're wrong. Look at us. We're going to pound the Jets as tough as we can. They didn't do that. They hung around. They hung around against this Jets team. And the Jets are just in such disarray. They're in such bad shape that as long as you hang around, you're able to win. You're able to beat these guys. And I was pumped to see Keyshawn Boutte have that final drive there that set New England up to score the game-winning touchdown. It was great. Boutte was electric, especially going against Sauce Gardner. But again, to sit there and say that they used Gerard Mayo's words as motivation. Well, if they used those words as motivation, I mean, it took them a whole friggin' half to realize that they were called soft. I mean, what? During halftime, did Mayo go into the locker room and tell these guys that they were soft again? And then they finally woke up? Like they needed to be called soft twice for this to work? I mean, that's one of the things where I have a problem with the I told you so's. That's why I was kind of pissed. You know, I was kind of pissed because now I'm going to have to listen to all the idiotic, you know, Patriot fans where it's like everything is awesome, you know, like that have to come out and be like, see, we told you. On top of the fact that, you know what? I don't know if Gerard Mayo is cut out for this job. I don't. And I'm not saying that because he called the team soft. I'm saying that because the dude doesn't know when to shut up. Every single thing that he says, almost 24 hours later, he has to take it back. And that's the other thing. He called the team soft on Sunday night. And Monday morning, what does he do? Oh, well, that's not what I meant. I didn't mean it like that. Like, if you're going to say it, stand behind your words. That's what being a leader is. And so I don't know if he has it. I don't. So we got a winnable game against Tennessee. And here's the thing. Would I have been more excited if Drake Maye played this whole game and we won? Yeah, I would have. I'm pretty sure today would be not a very different show, but a slightly happier show had Drake Maye been able to do this himself. Because we all know what we have with Brissett. And I think that's why it kind of irks me a little bit. Is because I've seen enough of Brissett. I don't need to see him anymore. I want Drake Maye to do this stuff. And I know he got hurt. Like, I'm not sitting here, trying to rewrite history. But I'm also not calling for Joe Milton either. Because in his days in Tennessee, you got the famous phrase with Joe Milton being, if you want Joe to throw the football 80 yards, he'll throw it 80 yards. If you want Joe Milton to throw the ball 10 yards, he'll throw it 80 yards. Like, the dude is kind of like the Cam Newton. I don't know if he's as bad as Cam Newton, as Anthony Richardson. Now, I don't know if he's as bad as Anthony Richardson throwing for friggin' 30% completion percentage. But, I mean, that's something where I'm not advocating for Joe Milton to play, but I am advocating for I'm done with Brissett. I already know what we got, and we do have a winnable game coming up against Tennessee. I'm just wondering is Brissett going to be the guy? And then are we going to be able to move forward and be able to get that win against Tennessee? They're not good. You know, Will Levis, actually, Will Levis has been hurt, but he sucks. Mason Rudolph has been playing the last couple of weeks, and, you know, he hasn't been the same since he got the helmet to the dome by Myles Garrett. You know? But, yeah, again, I'm just looking at it going, is this really what we want? You know, is this really, good for us long term? Like, yeah, sure, celebrate the wins. Cool. Like, I'm not asking to tank. I don't want to tank. It's not fun to tank because then you have to come on here for, what are we coming up to, week 9? then I have to come on here for 8 more games after this week to be like, yep, here we go. All right, another loss, and this is why we lost, and this is it's not fun. But at the same time, I want the Pats to come out like gangbusters and just get the job done. Act as if you were called soft. Because that hurts. That's not something that they should be used to as football players. So when you hear those words, I don't know, you might want to score on the opening drive. You might want to shove it down their throats on the opening drive just to prove an effing point. Am I wrong? Let me know. The other thing, too, is so as of Monday, the Patriots traded Josh Uche for a 2026 sixth-round draft pick. So first of all, they got something for him. Cool. Great. He signed a super cheap deal. He was absolutely going to walk at the end of the season. Might as well get something for him. Fine. All right. Can we all agree on that? But here's the thing, though. I think it was absolutely useless because not only is it a sixth-round draft pick where you're getting into the let's just take an effing flyer on this guy stage, but it's a flyer in 2 draft picks, 2 draft classes. So like this upcoming draft, we're still going to have the same amount of picks that we had. So basically, I would argue that the Kansas City Chiefs got Josh Uche for a bag of balls. Like they did. And I think it's going to help him. I mean, hell, you know what? You're going to be going into a scheme and a system that is going to be competing. You're going to be, used to get after the quarterback. They already have some great defensive line play coming from George Karlaftis and Chris Jones there. But I'm looking at it going, really, Elliott, you couldn't have gotten a 2025 sixth-round draft pick? Did you just call up Kansas City and say, hey, listen, I don't care. Can you just toss us a pick 2 years from now? And the Kansas City's like, the best we could do you is a 26th sixth. You go with that? Elliott Wolf, done. Let's go. Done. See you, Josh. I mean, what are we doing? If you're gonna get compensation, can you at least get some effing compensation? Make it, I don't know, next year's draft? And the draft that you kind of need to nail, especially if Elliott Wolf is going to be sticking around for next year's draft class. Because so far, what they have done is proven that maybe it wasn't, Belichick had the final say, but it was all you morons in the front office that scouted guys like N'Keal Harry and Javon Baker, Jalen Polk, who, quite honestly, and Tyquan Thornton, who quite honestly suck. And Bill had the final say, but I don't know, maybe you could have stuck your neck out for some of these other guys who turned out to be pretty damn good. I mean, obviously, I've talked about N'Keal Harry, A.J. Brown, and all of that. But let's not forget, when we drafted Tyquan Thornton a couple years ago, guess who was right a couple picks later? George Pickens. So, this whole organization right now is really just awful. And I think that's why, I was a little pissed off. Is because I'm looking at it from I don't want to say a big perspective, but I'm zoning in on all the little things, all the different situations, the calls, the drafts, the signings, and all of these things. And it's like, What are you doing? Taking Jalen Polk there, who, after he got drafted, a lot of experts were saying you just got a younger Jacoby Myers. And I don't know, if I'm going to draft a wide receiver at the top of the second round, I want to get a DK Metcalf or an A.J. Brown, who were drafted in the second round. Or, better yet, let's get a tackle, because we need a left tackle that we could have developed and hopefully have made into a hell of a prospect. But no. And that's what really bugs me. And just trying to figure all this stuff out. And yeah, I understand they try to make the play for T. Higgins. They try to make the play for Brandon Ayuk. It was all, cool, great. You tried, but you failed. And me personally, I'm not going to knock them for not getting Calvin Ridley. I will knock them for the reason why they didn't get Calvin Ridley, because they were short, $1 million or, a couple $1 million tops. Tennessee offered X. They offered Y, but it was just slightly less than what Tennessee offered. Again, it's everybody. And I feel like that's what happened with this win. Yeah, everyone gets to ride, to go scot-free for another week, rather than us talking about what we're talking about. You know what I mean? So that's why it's to me, the Josh Uche trade really didn't net us anything, because we're going to have to wait 2 years to make the effing pick. And then what? We're going to, if you told me that we can take that 6th rounder and make it into a 2025 4th rounder without giving up a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, or 5th in 25 and 26, then great. I'm all for it. But I know that's not going to happen, because it's not feasible. No GM. I don't care how idiotic you are. Hell, you could put my dog Eden as the GM, who can't even speak. And when you offer a 6th rounder for a 4th rounder, yeah, even she would tell you to go F off. Come on. So, not to mention, too, with the whole Uche trade, Jeff Howe of The Athletic gave the Patriots a C. And I don't disagree. The only reason why I would go with a C- versus an F, even though I said that Elliot Wolf has no idea what he's doing, which I do believe, is because you got something. Even though it's a friggin' flyer, you got something for him. And before you come at me and be like, well, hey, there are so many great 6th-round draft picks that have come. Yeah, there have, i.e. Tom Brady. We all know that. But if you're telling me that all those great 6th-rounders, including Tom Brady, that team was making a conscious effort to go after them, I'm sorry. You cannot convince me of that. Because Tom Brady was a flyer. All these, and again, it's not like there's boatloads of these 6th-rounders who became something in this league. It's probably a good amount of them, but not everybody. You're telling me that these guys, the teams, made a conscious effort to go after them because they're that good? No. They were flyers. Julian Edelman is a 7th-rounder, but a flyer nonetheless. So that's what I'm talking about. It worked out that everything kind of fell into place. Julian has talked about himself. It's not just Wes Welker, but the whole Aaron Hernandez thing and Welker leaving and building that relationship with Tom took some time, but it worked. Thank God it worked, because look at how great he was. But that's what I'm talking about. They were flyers. They were like, you know what? Let's see what you got. And then they balled out. They killed it. Tom Brady made himself, put himself on the active roster as the fourth quarterback. Tell me the last time an NFL team carried 4 quarterbacks on their active roster. You know what I'm saying? So the last thing I want to talk about when it comes to the Patriots is obviously the trade deadline's next week, next Tuesday, which I think, as we all know, is just a regular Tuesday in November. There's nothing special going on that day. So Josina Anderson threw out this tweet that says she's told the Patriots are monitoring the trade market potentially to add talent at receiver, tackle, or D-tackle or tackle positions on the heels of the rousing 25-22 win. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, the trade deadline's November 5th at 4 p.m. And first of all, I just want to say, why are we adding talent? That's first and foremost, that to me is kind of like a red flag. You never see teams that suck and are at the bottom of the league want to add talent. They always want to ship talent off because they want to accumulate more draft capital. They want to accumulate better assets to then hopefully make a move later on, whether that is through the draft or through another trade, but in the offseason. So there's that. And then, too, do we have faith that Elliott Wolf is going to be able to make a worthwhile deal for a receiver, a defensive tackle, or a tackle? Because I don't know. I just don't think so. I don't think that Elliott Wolf is going to succeed in this. And here's another, and again, it's one season, he had this last draft, but there's just a lot. There's a lot that I just don't have the faith. And it's not because it's like I don't like this team or anything like that. No. It's you have proven to me time and time and time and time and time again that you don't know what you're doing. You can't get the job done when you need to. And I'm sorry, until you can prove it, then I'll stop buying into it. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what kills me. That's what kills me about this whole thing. And I don't know. We're going from one crap bag team that somehow squeaked out a victory to another crap bag team that was projected for the playoffs. We all thought they were going to make the playoffs, but right now they are at the bottom of the league. They are 2 points away from being last in the conference. The Bruins have absolutely no idea what they're doing. And it's been just an absolute travesty, a joke to watch this Bruins team play. And yes, they lost some talent. Talked about it ad nauseum. Glad some of these guys left. But to lose to the Flyers, and not only lose, to get shut out to the Flyers. 2-0. And it wasn't Korpisalo's fault either. They are one of the worst teams in hockey, Philly. But right now, the Bruins are playing right on that level. I don't know what is going on with this team. I don't know if it's the influx of youth. I don't know if it's the fact that they're not talking to Montgomery, or Montgomery's not getting through to them anymore. Is it Brad Marchand wearing the C? Is he not leading them right? Like, is it the kids? Is it the vets? I don't get it. I don't understand, because myself and a lot of others, at least thought this roster was good enough to make the FN playoffs. But right now, they don't look right. Charlie Coyle can't do anything. Brad Marchand, like, I know I question his leadership, but when was the last time he scored a 5-on-5 goal? It's been a minute. And then if he scored recently, it's been a long, long time since he's done it enough, right? So the Flyers, I just want to say, are tied for third most goals against per game and have the second worst save percentage in the league. And all you could do was generate 3 shots on net in the third period that you kind of needed, while also during the game having a 5-on-3 for a minute and a half, and you're just going pass, 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 pass. And then, there goes the puck. I got to go skate down and get it. It's a 5-on-3. What are you doing? And it's not like you had a 5-on-3 for 15 seconds or 5 seconds. You had it for a minute and a half. Everybody has sucked except the fourth liners, which, getting to the lines, I mean, I just saw a practice today. You had the lines looking like this: Johnny Beecher, Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak on line 1, Marchand, Lindholm, and Mark Castle on line 2, Frederick, Poitras, Brazeau on the third line, and then you had Max Jones, Charlie Coyle, and I keep forgetting his first name, but Kepke on the fourth line. And then, of course, Leroy McAvoy, Lindholm, Carlo, Zadorov, Peak. But those forward lines, I mean, it's been a nightmare. Like, they're moving. They just said, you know what? We're going to put these lines on shuffle mode and just see what we get. Because when you do that, that's what you get. I mean, they are trying for anything right now. And the crazy part is, we have 4 weeks from tomorrow. 4 weeks from tomorrow till Thanksgiving. By the time Thanksgiving hits, which is November 28th. Yeah, November 28th is Thanksgiving. By that day, the Bruins will have played 30% of their games for the season. And if they keep playing like this, they will be last in the Eastern Conference, if not second to last behind the Flyers. Or ahead of the Flyers, however you want to phrase that. And so, I don't know what's going on with this team. And I know I mentioned it last week. Is it time to start talking about firing Jim Montgomery? And, I understand that Montgomery has won the most regular season games in the last 2 years. He's gotten the most points in the last 2 years as the Bruins head coach. But to have this, to play like this in season 3, while failing miserably in the first round of your record-breaking season 2 years ago, then to fall to the same team in the Panthers in the second round while nearly blowing a 3-1 series lead the series prior against the Leafs, and then falling in 6 games to the Panthers again. I don't know. They need something. And again, kind of talking similarly about the Patriots and their whole organization, top to bottom. I've been calling for Sweeney's head for quite some time. The only thing that Sweeney's done well has been to identify pro talent and being able to make some good trades. But the only problem is we keep investing in guys and giving contracts that aren't good. Talking about Jeremy Swayman's deal. I'm sorry, but Jeremy Swayman was a restricted free agent. if he wasn't going to take 6.5 over, hell, I'd even say 3 years. You want to give Swayman 3-4 years at 6.5? I think that's a fair deal because he hadn't proven himself to be the full-time guy. And say what you want about Allmark, but it's not like he beat Allmark out enough to make himself the full-time guy. So there's that. But then they gave him 8.25 over 8 years for not having proven himself. Yeah, he did great in the playoffs. Not discounting that. I get it. That's great. But can you play 55-plus games in a season and then do what you did in the playoffs? That's what I want to see. So I would have held out. I would have been like, all right. And then, hey, if somebody wants to overpay for him, which getting around to this time of the year, yeah, I think somebody, would have realized their goaltending sucks and they want to make a move to try to better that, or somebody gets hurt. That would have been so easy to trade for a restricted free agent and make it work. But no, they had to make the investment. Again, bringing Jonas Korpisalo in has an awful, awful contract for how he's played over the last few years. And yet we're paying the brunt of it for what? Another 4? We're on the hook for Korpisalo for another 4 years. And then if we're able to trade him, I guarantee we're going to be, paying at least 1.25 for the other team. So there was just a lot with this team, from front office to coaching to leadership on the team to the players playing on the ice. I mean, the Bruins are 27th in goals for out of 32 and are second worst in penalty minutes by 1 minute. The Bruins are 1 minute shy of having the most penalty minutes in hockey. If that doesn't scream an undisciplined team, I don't know what does. And the crazy thing is, with the way this team has played, basically since Chara arrived here, this is not the Bruins team that we've known for the last 15 years. It's not. They suck. They suck right now. And I don't know. Hopefully this will get to them, or they will have that epiphany and they'll finally wake up and just come out strong and just start playing well, playing together, understanding the scheme, the concept, stop passing pucks into skates, all that stuff. Having the pucks go tape to tape. I mean, come on. They really need that. And I'm just worried that it's not going to work out for them. So say what you want, but right now the Bruins, they're in trouble, man. They are in trouble. Yep. But going to another team that is not in trouble, it is the Boston Celtics. And my God, are they just on fire. They stomped on the Milwaukee Bucks with Peyton Pritchard dominating, hitting another buzzer beater. Like, the dude just, I don't care. He needs to be on at the end of every single quarter, the end of every single game, because he has that ability to heave these shots. I think, a couple games ago, like this season, we've only played 4 games, and he already hit a practically full court shot, but he missed it by like 0.2 seconds. So Peyton Pritchard is just unbelievable. He's right in the front. If he's not, he needs to be as the front runner for the 6th man of the year right now. Like, he is just killing it. And I swear, the Celtics have just been dominant, except for nearly blowing a 23-point lead to the lowly Detroit Pistons. Like, seriously? Like, just watching the Pistons slowly make their way back, it's almost like, what the hell is going on right now? And I think the Celtics just took their foot off the gas and were, playing to the competition. But I will say, like 4 games in, they're 4-0. They're killing it. They're number one in most points per game. The one thing I will say though, which is kind of funny, and maybe it's just because it's like I'm old school like this, but the fact that their defense is allowing 109.3 points per game is absurd to me. I think that's really, really bad. But the kicker to that stat is the Celtics have the 7th best defense for points against. So, yeah, they're allowing 109, but it's top 10 in the NBA. There's only one team in the NBA that has a points against under 100 points, and that's the OKC Thunder. But I don't know. I mean, like I said, old school. Like I feel like their defense definitely needs to get better, and they definitely need to play a little bit tighter. And maybe that could also be just garbage time points. Like the Celtics built up these massive leads, and so they bring in the backups. The other team gets a few extra buckets that they probably wouldn't have gotten had the starters been out there for the entire game. So maybe that plays a factor into it too. But, you know, I hope that the defense does get a little tighter, and it probably will. I mean, you have Block Fest against Milwaukee, so there's that. But yeah, like I said, it's so minor that, like, hey, this is like the one time that I will admit everything is awesome. Like, right? You know, like there's nothing really to say. You know, I mean, you have Joe Mazzulla talking about how he wants to bring fighting into the league, which was absolutely hilarious. And then to see the whole media reaction, like, blow up about it, you know, I'll be like, you can't do that. Like, it's, you know, this isn't hockey. It's like, no. But again, baseball has their unwritten rules. Like, again, if a pitcher hits a guy, then that guy's pitcher is going to pluck another guy. You know, hey, don't hit my guys. You know what I mean? Like, again, watching the comeback, going with Roger and Pedro back in 2003. You know, Manny knew he was going to get plucked, even though the ball was nowhere near him. You know, that's what started that brawl, and I'll get into that in just a minute. But like that's the thing. It's kind of like taking those hard fouls. You don't need to go into like to examine these hard fouls for 15 minutes. No, just all right, regular foul, bang. Now again, if it's egregious, fine, yeah, make it a tech or a flagrant one or something like that. But to sit there and say that to sit there and take Joe Mazzulla saying that he wants to bring fighting back in the league seriously. Like, this is what I'm talking about. People are just so hung up. It's like they look at the transcript, but they don't listen to what he's saying and how he's saying it. Because he was bringing in the other examples like hockey, like brawls and baseball. And yeah, I mean, you do have the issues, of course, with how close the fans are, and everybody and their mother who was alive for it, remembers the malice at the palace, and how insane that was. But then when you look back to the days in the 80s, looking at Larry Bird going against Dr. J, Julius Erving, going against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, going against Bill Lambert and the friggin' bad boy Pistons. Like, those they fought on the court. The Pistons had the Jordan rules where they made hard fouls on Michael Jordan. He went back that offseason, got bigger, got stronger, got tougher, and dominated the Pistons. Like, where is that? This is why it's kind of hard to watch the NBA sometimes, is because they're so effing soft. They don't have that edge to them like they did back in the day, back in the 80s, back in the 90s, and maybe to some degree in the early 2000s. But even then, you could sense the league getting softer and softer. Guys just being flopping all around. That's what kind of drives me up a wall. You know, like it's can we just play the damn game? You know, and that's where I'm not even talking about the refs either. Like, I'm talking about the players. Can you just play the game? All right, you took a hard foul. It's not like, you know, they took you out or anything egregious hard foul. But, hey, they let you know. Don't come into the paint. You know, and how are you going to respond to that? You're going to get up, get in their face? All right, you know, like, let's see something boil over here. And I'm not asking for fisticuffs to be thrown. But it's just that mentality of retaliation in a sense. Hey, go listen to what Joe Mazzulla had to say. I think he's not wrong. Bring back some toughness into the NBA. Stop letting these guys get away with, you know, flopping. And, you know, if we can look at a replay of a hard foul for 15 minutes, why the hell aren't we going at these flop cities that LeBron James throws all the effing time? The guy is going up like this. LeBron is right here. And all of a sudden, the elbow just kind of does like just a little bit. And all it does is hit LeBron's shoulder. It doesn't hit his chest, doesn't hit his head. It hits LeBron's shoulder. And all of a sudden, he's just like, wow, like it's like he gets murdered sometimes. If you ever watch LeBron play, the guy looks like he gets murdered. And I mean, if you're watching the stream, you've seen LeBron play. So he gets murdered. It's friggin' ridiculous for getting like a poke, you know, like that's it. But again, it's a story for a different day to some degree. I've already gone to a lot of it. But finally, you know what's funny? I said this a couple weeks ago that I was not going to talk Red Sox anymore until after the World Series or until free agency hit. But I swear that there is just always something with this team. There is always something with this team. And I'm not even going to talk. I'm not talking about the comeback, which I will get to in a little bit. But first and foremost, and again, I mentioned this about how the World Series has the second and third highest payroll in baseball, which is crazy to me, but in a good way to some degree, because even though I hate the Dodgers, I hate the Yankees, it kind of goes to show that you need to spend money in order to make a deep playoff run. And yes, the teams that have these low spending payrolls break through to some degree, but more times than not, they end up losing to the superior teams, the teams with the big pockets, right? So there was an article, two articles I'll talk about. One was by Pete Abraham of the Globe, saying the title being Mookie Betts' success in Dodger Blue should have Sox fans seeing red, which I am. I can't stand it because Mookie Betts is 32, but he's an 8-time All-Star playing for his third World Series ring in 7 seasons. Two of those could be with the Dodgers if the Dodgers end up winning this World Series. But even though Mookie Betts started out 0 for 6 in his first 2 games in the division series, he turned it on, went 16 of 49, batting .327 with 8 extra base hits, 11 runs, 14 ribbies over the next 12 games, 9 of which the Dodgers won. So, again, Mookie is a stud, and I've talked about this on this show ad nauseum, and just how annoying it is for a homegrown talent like Mookie Betts, like the guys that John Henry, Sam Kennedy, Tom Werner, all these effing a-holes in the Red Sox front office want to keep selling us on this notion like, hey, we need to have homegrown talent. We need to have homegrown talent. You want me saying to them, you want homegrown talent only when it suits your needs. In other words, only when it suits the fact that they're cheap, that you're not going to spend $300, $400, $500 million on them. That's when you want homegrown talent. So it goes on to say, talk about Dave Roberts, talking about Mookie Betts. He goes on to say and compliment the owner and president of Baseball Ops, saying they're going to do everything they can to give us the best ball club we can to win a championship every year. And that's what is missing from this Red Sox team. Not to mention the fact that at the time the Red Sox traded Betts to LA, they painted their decision, i.e. the Red Sox, as a choice. They could either pay Betts before he became a free agent, or they could obtain substantial young talent for the years ahead. In which case, how did that work out? It didn't. For the millionth time, you have Jeter Downs, sucked. Alex Verdugo, wildly overrated. You have Connor Juan, fine, but nothing to write home about as being, a mainstay of the Mookie Betts deal. Like, that's what's so disgusting to me, is that the Red Sox got garbage for trading away Mookie Betts. And I don't care what anybody says. Hindsight is not 20/20 with this. Because just like when the Bruins traded Tyler Seguin, just like when the Red Sox let Xander Bogaerts walk, just like when the Red Sox traded John Lester, this is a player who is homegrown, who is the guy, who is worth all the money that he's being paid. And yet, you traded him away for peanuts. And again, at the time, it wasn't hard to see. It wasn't hard to see. And it was just excuse after excuse. Listening to, Mookie Betts thinks Boston is racist. Now, I don't know if that's true or not. But to have that be thrown out there like that as a part of, this is why, we're not going to pay him. It just goes to show how much this team does not care. They are going to throw you under the bus like John Henry did with Terry Francona when he talked about Terry Francona's marital issues as to the reason why the Red Sox couldn't get their act together in 2011. Does that sound like fair play? No. And give him credit, when Felger and Maz called their asses out for that, and John Henry went on their show unprompted, it was great to see. But John Henry is just a massive fool, and he is like a scumbag, which goes to show just how cheap they are. Because a new report came out talking about the Scrooge Index. And again, just like Ebenezer Scrooge, we're coming up to that time, Christmas season, the Christmas Carol. He's cheap. They hoard all the money they can. They don't want to spend as much money. They've been crying that we don't make money. We're going out and we own the NASCAR, the PGA, or buying the PGA, excuse me. But we own Pittsburgh, and I couldn't give a damn about any of that. The fact that they own this team and the fact that they started off, and that's what the comeback talks about, they wanted to break the curse. And yes, John Henry did mention that he wanted to do it using analytics, as to the reason why they hired Billy Beane. But the team was also smart enough to go out and get guys that they needed to get, to spend the money they needed to spend. And so when you look at it now, this is what the Scrooge Index is. Basically, you have the amount of revenue that the teams make. Then you have the payroll that each team is paying currently to their players. And then the percentage of the revenue and the payroll. So obviously you have the Rays, the A's, the Tigers, and the Reds. These are the worst teams in baseball. So the Rays are 30th with their Scrooge index being 32. The A's are 29th, Tigers 28th, Reds 27th, and the Red Sox come in at 26th as the cheapest team. They make $557 million of revenue, only to spend 224 of it. I don't know about you, but if that doesn't scream, if that doesn't confirm all the nonsense that we've talked about ad nauseum, not just all year, but for years, ever since they traded Mookie Betts. I've only had this show since February, and I've been screaming about this since 2019. So the fact that this is reality, and you finally get to see how much money the Red Sox actually bring in to how much they're actually putting out on the field, makes me want to go down to Jersey Street and say to John Henry, invest or sell the damn team, because what you're doing is not good for sports. It's not. Because he is a money man. He's looking at this. He doesn't even look at this. That's one of the biggest problems. John Henry, Tom Warner, Sam Kennedy, scumbags who don't want to invest, who want to constantly lie to you to say, oh, don't worry, just wait next year. We got such great young homegrown talent. You had homegrown talent. Shut your mouth. And then making the playoffs is our number one priority. There's two issues I have with that. Number one, they say that every year. And then what happens? They don't make the playoffs. Shocker. Number two, the reason why I have an issue with that is because they're lying through their teeth. They don't care. They're not fans. And the more that Sam Kennedy says he grew up a mile away from Fenway Park, the more that he says he's a fan, the more I want to say, dude, the dude probably grew up in Connecticut. Useless. So it's just, with the Red Sox, it's one thing after another. And then, of course, the comeback. The Netflix documentary, The Comeback. I got to talk about this because it brings back all the feels. It brings back the good times when you had, the Red Sox, the Yankees, hatred. And that's what was beautiful. In a way. Like, again, they started off the documentary, episode 1, where you have the Yankee fan being interviewed when he's got his, probably 5-year-old daughter, 6-year-old daughter with him. And the guy that's interviewing him says to the Yankee fan, how's it been going, since you've, wearing a Yankees uniform, being at Fenway? And he goes, actually, they treated me pretty good, but it's probably because I have my daughter. If I didn't have her, then I probably would have got my ass kicked. Yes. And that's okay. Right? And I'm not advocating for us to see Yankee fans who aren't with kids and then just start beating the hell out of them. I don't want us to be like that friggin' Baltimore Ravens fan doing what he did to those Commander fans. But that's what, but it's that type of hate. It's okay. You dislike them. Great. That's what makes it fun. That's why when the players who wear the uniform also share that hatred for the players in the other uniform, hell, you could be best friends outside of the ballpark. That's fine. If you go out to dinner together, cool, whatever, no issues. But once you put on that uniform and you look across and you see those Yankee pinstripes, yeah, there better be some fire in your eyes. There better be some hatred where you go tell your friend in the pinstripes to say, hey, listen, outside of the ballpark, we're cool. But I'm going to talk so much crap to you that you're going to look at me and question our friendship while we're at the ballpark. I think that's fine. And so that's what made it so entertaining. it was great to see, great to relive those memories. Some of which, I totally forgot. I totally forgot that Kurt Schilling said in his driveway that he wanted to be a Yankee, only to have Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer fly to Arizona to go talk with him and convince him to sign in Boston. But it was nice. It was nice. But then again, to see, John Henry talk the way he talks, to see Tom Warner talk the way he talks, Sam Kennedy luckily wasn't around, like, in a lot of this, but to have Tom Warner say that the feeling, quote, the feeling that I got from Grady Little was I knew he was going to screw up really bad one day. Like, I saw that and I just couldn't help but laugh, because I'm like, you ass. No, you didn't. You had no friggin' clue. Yeah, you might not have liked the fact that, I don't know, he was a true baseball guy who wasn't a massive fan of analytically driven data, because sometimes the data doesn't speak to what's on the field. And that's what I'm trying to get at, is Grady Little, even in his baseball knowledge, royally screwed up that Pedro Martinez game 7. We all know that. I'm not discounting that. But I couldn't help but just laugh and be like, Tom, no, you didn't. You're just saying that for everybody to make yourself look good. And because that's what he does. The infamous Tom Warner and all his Red Sox fandom.
To start a cheer. Let's go Red Sox. Let's go Red Sox. Let's go Red Sox.
Go Red Sox.
To start a
The dude can't even get his own the cadence right for the "Let's go Red Sox." Like, he's so moronic. And sometimes, you know what? I'm not afraid to say it. That's the problem with having guys who own teams who know nothing about sports. Show me what Tom Warner has done in terms of sports, and I might think twice. But John Henry, Tom Warner, you have these guys who know nothing about the sport. They're just looking at it as a business investment. Guys who do that should not own sports. This is why sports are for the jocks, and the nerds can do whatever the hell else they want. And that's it's that simple, folks. It's that simple. But I digress. So the comeback, a lot of fun. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. Really enjoyed it. It was nice to see the Yankee perspective as well as the Red Sox perspective. I could have done without some of the Red Sox fans, though. I felt like it was a little too much to some degree. But because, again, like I was that fan. I was that fan that lived through the heartache of 2003, that went, that was in the depths of despair with going down 3-0 to the Yankees, to then be just super elated, winning the ALCS, winning the World Series. I was that fan. I don't need to see the fan perspective. Okay. I want to see Jorge Posada talk about his throw down to second base for Dave Roberts. I want to see Derek Jeter, which I know he's not on, but I want to see Derek Jeter talk about that, and not just his quick little blurb about it. No, I want to see him go in depth every single game, what he was thinking. A-Rod, same thing. So that's what I want. That's what I care about. But, hey, if you haven't watched it, go watch it. And finally, just quickly, got a couple thoughts for you. So first and foremost, I want to talk about this Mookie Betts play in the World Series.
Torres, Betts in the corner. Does he have room? Fights with the fan. And they're going to say that it's an out and fan interference. So an out, one gone in this first.
Yeah, he was in our area. He was in our area. You know, like that's fair game to us, right? Look at the replay.
He had the home run turned into a double back at Dodger Stadium. And yeah, Betts has that ball in his glove, and this fan literally tries to take his glove off. Pries the ball out of there.
Oh my God. I saw that and I just couldn't stop laughing. I honestly thought that was like one of the funniest things. Now, all of that being said, I gonna say I'm glad Mookie didn't get injured. I'm glad that, no one got hurt, because if Mookie Betts got hurt off of that, all hell would have broken loose. But I don't know, to have all the media pundits today and all the baseball people just act like the overbearing parent, just being like, you can't do that. That is disgusting. That is a disgrace. Like that. It's like, all right, no one got hurt. It was kind of effing funny, because to see his face be so determined to pry Mookie's glove open, I thought was just like, I never thought about that before, right? Never thought about trying to take the player's glove off of him, right? So yes, I don't condone. I think we all can agree that we don't condone it, but I mean, come on, you can't help but laugh at that. It's New York. They're down 3-0, and the best part was, after the game, somehow the media followed these guys to a local bar, and they interviewed him. And the guy's like, we have to defend the wall, which, it's a hell of a line. That's a hell of a line. And if baseball people can't see it, then I'm sorry, but get a sense of humor, man. Get a sense of humor, because, hey, you gotta go against the 10th man, man. Like, it's the 10th man is real. And it was like, for that to happen in Philadelphia, I think we can all be like, yeah, that absolutely would have happened. But hey, it's the Bronx Zoo over there. All right. Like, those people are just as crazy as the ones in Philly. I respect the effort. Don't condone it, but respect the effort. So that's my thought on that. And then also Dwayne Wade's statue, which I don't know. Like, I don't see it. I just do not see it. It's absolutely horrendous. And it goes along the line with all these other recent statues, like the Cristiano Ronaldo statue, like some of the recent NFL busts for the Hall of Fame. Like, I think Peyton Manning's forehead's huge. Like, all of these things that I look at it and I go, how is it that in a society that has all this technology, that has all this, that has this ability to make something so easily, it doesn't have to take years, it doesn't have to take months or days, it can take a couple of hours, because technology has made our lives so much easier. And we have all these degrees, especially in art, like these statues, these sculptors. I'm sorry, but you're telling me that these guys are educated, that they know what they're doing, that look at the detail of that Dwayne Wade statue. And I would say even look at his arms, right? Look at his hands. Like, it is really not that much, there. It's all right. It's a little chiseled, like a little, muscle definition. Fine. But then when you talk about guys who never were educated, who just had the talent, had the eye, as well as the knowledge, but where they got that knowledge, it's not like they went to a university for that knowledge, got a degree in all that stuff. Look at David, for instance. look at the definition. You can even see on the arms the muscles contracting because of the way his hand is bent, the neck muscles that are protruding, the rib cage, the eyes, the nose, like everything about that. Michelangelo chiseled that out of his own two hands. And yet he didn't have the technology. He didn't have the quote unquote knowledge that we have as quote unquote educated people today. You know, Michelangelo never went to college, never studied this. He was just extremely gifted. And from that to also the Notre Dame Cathedral, the beauty in that architecture. My God, it's a far, far cry from what we have, from all the modern architecture, which is boring, lazy, and just quite honestly worthless. Yeah, that's right. All the skyscrapers, all the designs, Boston City Hall that I've pointed out that I want to tear down to build a new stadium in, worthless. The man who designed that is a friggin' idiot. And I have no problem saying that because he is. To have this inverted building look the way it does, it is ugly as all hell. And don't tell me that it's some stupid ass design. Oh, it's this style. It's look at the style behind it. It's like all the friggin' artists who literally take their hand, cover it in paint, stick it on a cardboard box or whatever, and then sell that painting for hundreds of thousands of dollars where they did nothing. You want to talk about why I don't respect art today? It's because it's nonsense like that. So, needless to say, don't ever take me to an art museum because I will make fun of everything that's there. Those are my thoughts. Thank you guys so much for sticking around. I really do appreciate it. My name is Tim. This is the Boston Sports Summit, and it is presented by the Grid Network. Special announcement. So I am going to be starting a new trend where next Tuesday, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I'm going to be doing 2 shows a week now for the next couple weeks. Kind of test run, see how it goes. So next Tuesday and next Thursday, right around this time. Actually, excuse me, next Monday. We're going to do Monday next week because obviously Tuesday is election night. That is a massive night. And by the way, when it comes to elections, I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for or anything like that. But please, for the love of God, make sure when you do vote, you do your research. You don't look into it just based on like how you feel about candidate A or candidate B, because that's not good. Make sure you do your research and you agree with the policies that they're actually providing, and make sure it makes sense too. You know, not that you agree with it, but it also makes sense. That's just my PSA, for voting next week. Just make sure that you know what you're doing and you're not just going there and voting on emotions, because when you vote on emotions, you're not understanding what is being talked about, what is being said. So, and you're making a decision based off a feeling over logic. It's better to make decisions off of logic over feelings. So that's my PSA. But listen, thank you so much for tuning into the Boston Sports Summit presented by the Grid Network. We will be going live next Monday, so tune in for that. It's going to be a blast. Patriots, Titans. It should be a winnable game. It should be a winnable game. Hopefully Drake Maye is able to come back. But thank you so much. Have a great night, everybody. Have a great weekend, and God bless. Thank you.